Well, with Comic Con fast approaching, I thought I would basically do what I did last year, which is talk about several panels, several upcoming movies or TV shows, and just give my thoughts on them. Now, Comic Con has not actually started yet. I mean, the anticipation is crazy, and this this actually doesn't really have much to do with that. I just wanted to make that announcement to the very few people who are wondering. Um, that I'll probably be talking about those panels over the next couple weeks. However, what I really wanted to talk about, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, is that FX has officially renewed Fargo, TV's Fargo, for a second season. Now anyone who watches my videos knows that I completely adore the first season of Fargo. It was honestly one of the biggest surprises in terms of spring TV. And in my opinion, or at least thus far, winter and spring TV have been a lot better than summer TV. Not that summer TV has been quote unquote bad so far, but in winter and spring we got Sherlock, we got Hannibal, we got Vikings, we got Game of Thrones. Honestly, I really shouldn't have been surprised that they brought it back for a second season, especially considering how well the first season did. Even when I was watching the first season, I was saying to myself, if this does well enough, then they're going to find some way to continue. Because originally this whole TV show was really only intended as a one-off. They tell 10 episodes worth of story and then that'll be it. They just wanted to put their stamp on the Fargo license. Particularly Noah Hawley wanted to put his stamp on the Fargo license. Without him, I don't really think any of this could have happened. I mean, he did a really good job, both in the writing and the directors that he hired. He really did a good job in paying homage to the Coen Brothers style, while at the same time differentiating it just enough to where it doesn't really feel like imitation. It doesn't really feel like he is stealing off the Coen Brothers style. And season 2, I've now reached the point where I trust this creative team enough to where, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a season 2. However, they have said that if they do a season 2, it will be with different characters, which I always kind of knew that, especially considering the actors that they hired, again, only signed up for 10 episodes. Of course, they could extend the contract, but there's always this feeling that their story is over after the first season. There's really not really a whole lot left to go with. I mean, yeah, you could focus on the character of Molly and have her tackle other cases, but then you run the risk of it becoming yet another police procedural and kind of losing that unique stylistic edge that I think the show does very well. So really, for me, there was a positive and a negative to doing a second season. Obviously, it's much more complicated than that. But for me, there were two main aspects that I was considering. Again, I trust this creative team to not disappoint me. I trust them to do what they feel would be an interesting story to tell over the course of another presumably short season. However, the detriment to that is I really liked these characters. I really liked this little community, this group of people that the first season set up. So a certain part of me wants to know what happens next, but the more critical side of me says, again, their story is over. Doing much else with them would feel kind of forced or, dare I say, self-indulgent. So yeah, like I said, there are positives and negatives to each one. However, the thing that I found interesting was the announcement of what the premise of season 2 was going to be. It's apparently going to be set in 1970s North Dakota. Okay, so that's before. Not only does that take place before the series, it takes place before the movie. It's going to focus on Lou Solverson, who is Molly's father, the Keith Carradine character from the show. And it's going to focus on his exploits. It's going to explore the whole Sioux Falls incident. The character of Molly Solverson is just going to be a toddler at this point. So, so already I said, okay, I'll roll with this, because looking at the Keith Carradine character, Lou Solverson, in the first season, I always got the sense that, this guy really has an interesting story to tell. This guy you really want to know more about. You feel like this guy, in all his experience and his whole demeanor and whatnot, you feel like this guy has really been through a lot, and again, that could make for interesting storytelling. He seems like he's been around a bit. He's seen things. So focusing on him as a sort of prequel series is not really that surprising. In fact, I'm all for it. However, another interesting thing that they brought up is the fact that while in the first season this was someone over at FX, not strictly speaking part of the creative team behind Fargo. This was just an FX spokesperson. He said for the first season, they relied on certain names to get their show off the ground, namely Billy Bob Thornton. So apparently the thought process was, we got Billy Bob Thornton in our show, and it's based on a Coen Brothers movie. So they were hoping that might get people in the seats. But now apparently they've, according to this guy, they've, yes, it's the FX CEO saying this. According to him, the show has now progressed, and the writing, direction, everything has gotten so much more confident, and the response by not only critics but audiences has become positive enough and has gained enough support to where they don't necessarily have to cast these big names in the second season. So that leads me to believe that they might cast some C-list or unknown actor as a younger version of Keith Carradine's character, because I don't really expect Keith Carradine to come back to voice, or not really, to play Lou Solverson a few decades before Fargo. That would be insane. Or before the first season. That would just be unheard of. Not that Keith Carradine is a particularly not that Keith Carradine is the oldest guy around. I mean, he's pretty spry, but again, we're talking 70s. Okay, they need a different actor. I mean, it would be like if they asked Patrick Stewart to come back to play Charles Xavier in X-Men First Class. There are some things that the audience just can't swallow. Nothing really has been announced as of yet. No casting, just the general premise. And at the earliest, this might air in fall of 2015, because apparently Noah Hawley and all them were rushed to get the first season out, and he hopes to have a longer period of post-production for the second season. So I'm a little sad that we're not going to see another season of Fargo. Usually with my cynical self, I'm usually opposed to continuing something, or especially something that was originally intended just to be a standalone piece of work. However, again, I trust this creative team enough to where, bring on more. If anything, I'm sad that we're not going to get more Fargo sooner. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on Fargo Season 2. Next up, Comic-Con.